Okay. Okay, hello everyone. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome again. In the name of the most advanced, I wanted to speak about the most advanced. But there is a very funny challenge. Since human beings are not the most advanced creatures. So to attempt to speak about the most advanced is a presumption. It's like a consideration that I am, like somebody's considering they're the most advanced. But I'm saying, since that is impossible, we can at least try to fathom what the most advanced would be. You know, I remember as a kid, you know, there were shelves that I couldn't reach. And I would try to rise up, jump up, trying to have my finger, I don't know, like imagine like a magazine on top of this shelf and you're just jumping up to like, you know, pull the magazine towards yourself. Fall on top of the shelf. What I'm trying to say is that the idea of the most advanced is like something we're reaching for. And I don't know about everyone else, you know, as the years are going by, I'm starting to realize my opinions are, you know, not as, I shouldn't say, but perhaps not as universal as I have been under the impression of. But in this episode, in the subtitle, I have written the future of the future. And so I will uphold the time traveler's ego in this episode. You know, I feel like very unique. The next few years is going to be very unique for me. And you know, sometimes in life, whatever happens throughout the day, I think the term is reminisce. I go back to certain moments in my past. And you know, it's like, imagine you're not satisfied with who you are now, and then just for a moment, you just go back to a moment where you were satisfied with who you were being. But you know what's funny? We have never been satisfied, because it's very difficult to be satisfied in a changing world. If life was a photograph, you know, you'd look at it and be like, I'm satisfied. I see it, I see the picture, but life is changing. And what this means is that the truth of this reality doesn't seem to be a noun, a knowable noun. It seems to be an unknown verb. And so when I say in the name of the most advanced, I am actually, I'll say something about my own upbringing. I was born in Iran, Tehran, Iran. Iran is a country where religion and politics have not separated. You know, for example, in the West, you have the separation of church and state. However, in Iran, mosque and state have not separated. So what that means is that the whole country is being treated as a mosque. So you cannot be born have a sense of the etiquette and the attitudes, you know. You know, there was a time where I was like, yo, why are some Eastern countries, you know, saying hateful things about Western countries? The speed of progress suggests how willing a being is to change. Many people know the idea of adaptation for survival in evolution. It's like nature selected for us until we could select for ourselves, pretty much. Beyond. Anyways, guys, to continue with the hope that this is being heard. Anyways. Pretty much, we were unconscious of our life, even though we were alive. And now we have become conscious of our life, but we have become conscious of our life through the program of language. Right now, my identity, and if anybody wants to relate to my personality, you're relating to how I am sequencing, how I am vocalizing. I'm pretty much transcribing vocally inner films. That's what I'm doing in these talks, really. Let me see. I don't know. I mean, today I just had a sense of who I was in the past, and I'm someone who, I don't know, like I'll say this, when I was young, everyone would ask me like why I'm smiling all the time, and I didn't even realize why I'm smiling, But playfully the thought arose that if we are a multidimensional being with the considerations of a visible dimension where we find our body, our relationship to ourself, where we find our invisible dimension, our mind, our relationship with others, and our soul in the inconceivable dimension, our relationship with the world. Pretty much what's going on here is that your biological body is how you're existing as a self. Your mind is how you're existing as a collective being with others. The notion of the soul, the inconceivable dimension, is a very fascinating idea, and it's very close to the lines of how the Upanishads say the seer of the seen is unseen. It is true that sometimes our purpose is just limited to our inner experience. Today I saw this incredible video from David Goggins, this runner, this athlete. And he was saying that he was pretty unhealthy, and pretty much he had a moment where he realized like the people around him don't know him, and his only challenge, his only enemy is himself. I think that was a very, very profound insight, because when we think of advancement, we're considering the dimensions where something can get advanced, right? So we see the dimension of an individual, we're like, individuals can advance. We see the dimension of mind in regards to, let's say, knowledge, cognitive systems, intellectual expansion. And pretty much this is what's going on, really. We can advance objects, we can advance subjects, or we can be that rhythm that is advancing everything. Okay, pretty much you can be in the room, you can move in the room, and you can also be the room. You cannot leave the room, okay? Because leaving the room means your work is done. If I die right now, that means my work is done. That means whatever it is I came as a being here, it's done. Because we are under the impression that our advancement is only through our free will. Who says? We don't think about our heart. My body has been advancing. Do you understand? I mean, of course, like the person eats food, drinks water, but I don't think about it like, yo, heart, beat, yo, lungs, breathe. It's like, yo, body, grow. Like, it's not like that. We don't think about it. We just trust what we're being, and it happens. I feel this is one of the poetic messages, important messages this world, this experience for a conscious being is providing. Okay? I mean, sometimes, I don't know. I think there's something about me. I've had this has been like constant from the beginning of my life. Okay? Where I feel like people are interested to see what I see, but they're not interested to get close to where I am that I'm seeing it. Do you know? There's a very important quote from Andy Warhol where he says, when you go on the edge, you see something that you couldn't see before. And sometimes when you go to the edge of your expectations of reality, you discover the unexpected. You realize that what's going on here is actually three parallel lives simultaneously happening. So what this means is that consciousness is a multi-experiential presence. So what this means, there's a biological being living here, an objective physical being living here. Right now, I'll use myself as an example. Right now, as I'm talking to you, there's a biological being here. I see it in the mirror of my car, Sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, could creation create a better face? Right now I'm being a biological objective being. Right now I'm communicating to you as a subjective point in my inner realms. So what this means is an object is living here, a subject a visible object is living here, simultaneously in symbiosis with an invisible subject that is living here, simultaneously in symbiosis with a space being. You see, something I looked into the mystical traditions, into esoteric ideas, and I realized nobody had said it. Nobody had said it. Or maybe I hadn't heard, I haven't found who had said it, but it wasn't there in the obvious. Even I looked at some of the deepest books. I would say this is what they don't say. Many metaphysical, let's say, contexts of speech in mystical traditions, they say, yo man, do you get an out-of-body experience? Some esoteric schools of thought even have such a unique view that they say that your soul first of all, they consider there's a soul like separate to the moment, and so this soul can leave the body. But the question is, where is it leaving the body to? If you have an out-of-body experience, where is that experience happening? And this is where I would say some people have out-of-body experiences and some people have out-of-mind experiences. That means the soul, this unknown force, life force, did not just enter matter. It also entered space. That means you reincarnated as space prior to reincarnating as a form in that space. This is why your free will is there's a proximity to it. I wouldn't say, when I say proximity, I'm not saying like there's this energetic sphere around everybody and their free will is limited to that range of that sphere. But it's kind of like that, right? There's so many mysteries here when it comes to human psychology. One of the biggest mysteries for me was that how can I see my thoughts? How? Am I not a thought? Like that, this was like the basic idea they're feeding people, just like, imagine throwing like a, sometimes I feel, this world has forgotten that it has become civilized, and human beings have to stop treating human beings like farm animals. The educational systems are literally like that. They're just throwing food, just little bit of food, and all the children are like farm animals, and just fucking eating the food. Not asking why, not asking where. Something no teacher ever said to me was that before you understand the concept, you need to have an experience of the context, or you can't relate. No teacher had said that to me. You know why? Because they didn't know themselves. I thought they, how do I tell you? There are so many people, in this 31 years of life, I don't know if I can count, but how many people have known and could have helped and didn't? It's ridiculous. And it's happening because of an individual life. Because we're living like individuals, we're sacrificing the potential of our collective species. This is why, I have to in this time. It's not that I'm not a selfish person, I have such, sometimes I think my selfishness is unique. It's like the selfishness of another dimension, But it's just that now, if I bring the focus, look at it. How many freaking gurus are like, yo, everybody, look at me. Forget your world. Forget yourself. Look at me. I'm the enlightened guy. Rather than saying, yo, let's enlighten the world. Forget the individual. The individual's benefit is only 100 years here. But the species will outlast all of us. It is the mighty giant that is passing us, all of us. And we don't realize it. When I say in the name of the most advanced, I just have realized that because humanity thinks that 99.9% of species go extinct and is not considering itself the exceptionist, I don't know why this world has made it easier to be cruel than kind, and then I've thought about this often, right? And the answer, the way I kind of explain it to myself, is that in order to be kind, you have to be aware outside of yourself. But if you want to be cruel, it's so easy. You don't have to care. You don't have to notice anything outside of yourself. This is why, in some sense, tyrants push themselves to the path of self-destruction. There's signals this life gives you. You do something wrong a couple times and your karma changes, and you'll get a sense. One of the most profoundest realizations I've had this year, and it's something I've realized a long time ago, but it just renewed, or there was a renewal of it in my mind. And this was this realization that I have been speaking to a species, to beings that I don't know who they are behind their eyes, And what's funny is, I don't know, I think many people think that I've given these talks, they know who I am. But I will tell you, even I don't know sometimes who I am. Because it's deeper than an individual. Should I limit my whole lifetime to an individualistic analysis? Should I just treat myself as an object that was a subject that enjoyed the subjects of its mind for a little while? Or are these subjects required to step out of the inner realms to the outer realms? Think of all the inventors. Think of all the inventors. If, I choose to have an incredible respect for all those human beings that have influenced humanity. In my mind, the prophets were those closest to the edges of the world. And they were kind enough to share. Because we think we are individuals, we will have an individual destiny. Because it is enough for us to just be this one being here, not having, do you see, the mind is the permission to experience collective verbs. Why else are you in a world with others, right? Do you understand? You know, there's going to come a time in the future where the future generations are going to become so intelligent that they're going to get rid of so much violence because it's just hindering. Many people think violence ends by like some initiative in the outer realms. Like, sure, it can be slowed down, but violence ends through the expansion of consciousness. I'll give you an example. We were savage animals freaking biting like each other and killing each other in the forest, and at some point we were like, yo, let's put on suits and go start a business. Many times in this life, my mind has felt like a fool. I've felt like a fool many times, like ridiculous amounts of times, you know. And as a fool, just because I wasn't acquainted, you know. Usually when you, it's all pattern recognition to some degree. I have this feeling, and I could be, you know, maybe I'm the person in the wrong side of history, you know, but I have a deep feeling, and to tell all those beings who think that escaping the human experience towards dehumanized truth is ultimate, it is a sin. When you have entered this world to be human, you know, there was a long time I was thinking, why do religions say to speak about the soul is blasphemy? There's arguments against this. You know, there's an argument that to speak about the soul can't be blasphemy because the Creator, from a monotheistic lens, the Creator gave us intelligence, aql, and gave us imagination to appreciate, this is said in religion, the majesty of God's creation. So to appreciate God's greatest creation and the essence of God's creation is to appreciate the soul. Now, what is a soul? You know, some people look at someone who's unlucky and they're like, look at that poor soul. You know, but when they see somebody who's rich, they're like, yo, that rich asshole, you know. The poor guy is seen as a just pure soul, you know, and the rich person is seen as an egotistical piece of shit. But to be honest, when have we been in control of the context? Like the outer realms. The outer realms has a mind of its own. Do you understand? It's like we're all playing multiple games. This is a great way to talk about this. You're playing a game in front of your eyes with 8 billion other players, similar to a multiplayer online game. You're in an existential 3D map that instead of pixels on a 2D screen is, instead of pixels, it's the periodic table. Okay? So every human being is playing an outer realm collective game. If you don't play this game, it doesn't make sense why you exist as a human being. If you don't play the human game, what's the point of being a human being? You know, the person's like, yo man, I'm super enlightened, it was an accident. You know, I became a human being, you know. I'll be like, great, you will one day realize all the enlightened beings are looking here. The universe has achieved levels of completeness that there is no such thing as perfection in the higher dimensions. In the lower worlds, imperfection is a luxury of the multidimensional being. So you're playing an outer realm game, everybody's playing an outer realm game. This is a public, objective-based game. However, every person is also playing a psychological, subjective inner game. I term this the inner life, I term this the inner realms. We are living at a time where, you know, I see a lot of, I don't know how to say it, but we're living at a time where if people feel they don't have, they are okay to destroy. This is what when the era 2023 is an era where most people are giving their energy to indecent things. You know, there was this whole thing about like this, what do they call it, like OnlyFans movement and all of this going on. And I was thinking like, WTF, you know, it's like half the species is self-hypnotizing itself out of its loneliness, and the other half the species is deceiving the other half just because it also is lonely. You know, it also needs, right? The issue is, right, we have not as a species developed workable, how do I say it? Your body is an outer game, your mind is an inner game, your soul is playing the game. Your soul is not the game. Your soul, it can't even be defined as the game. Do you understand? There's something here that doesn't relate to anything here. They call it your unconditional presence. This unconditional presence is an incredibly advanced state because it's a limitless state, simply because there is no self to have limitations. This is what you attain through non-duality. You get to be a moment as a world. But it's dehumanizing. You know, I went through 2014 to 16. I was living like, believe it or not, when I started these talks, right, I was in some sort of unique relationship with my intuition. I was literally like, anyways. So guys, in case I may take, you know, I'm going to Dubai, moving to Dubai, lots of problems to solve there. In case, if I can't find the microphone for some time, in this episode, I want for the next couple of years, viewers to realize that advancement is a birthright. It is not ego. It cannot be ego. Because once the ego goes away, advancement can be enjoyed. You can notice, you can't notice advancement if you're convinced by what you only see. You know, why do you think I give all these talks? It's so easy for me to go and just accept a selection of like ideas and be like, yo, I have all these ideas in my inventory, you know. But then it doesn't expand the mystery. I have to touch the unknown, and then I can speak. So, in the name of the most advanced, may the human species advance. We are not just biological, physical beings. We're not just mental beings. We are worldly beings. Just because you have a shape right now doesn't mean you're this. You're just this. Could that be spirituality? I had a huge realization recently that these lectures have become an excuse for me to not change. Do you understand? Like I've set a goal that's like very huge, and the time it takes to complete this goal is the time of the lifetime. And now I have to be like, okay, do I want to just fucking talking into a microphone all the time? Like, I've conditioned myself. I don't know why this world has brought me in this path. I kind of feel like it's some sort of intuitive training. But when a being realizes they don't know, that's when the world becomes their teacher and silence becomes their guide. My intention is in the next 3 years to at least my whole intention in this lifetime. Okay, there's all the personal dimension and all that, but the impersonal dimension, I decided this, that I rather see the advancement of civilization than just feel my own joy. What is that? We sacrifice pleasure for progress, and we think we're good beings. Freaking. You know, the great sage Sri Ramana Maharshi says there will come a time where everything you have learned must be forgotten. And what he means is that your objective is created by our minds. The initial concept is the physical body we find. So we're these creatures that find ourselves in a form, and we're like, what is this? But the fact that we can ask the question means we're not just this. That means if I was just an object, there shouldn't be any sort of subjective mobility or any sort of subjective experience or psychological experience, or noumenon or qualia. So it's very obvious that we're not just physical beings. So if the species was like, yo, I'm not just a body because I got a mind. Well, guess what? What if you're not just a mind? What if you're not any of the ideas you've ever had? Maybe you've acted as those ideas, but what if you're not an idea here? How would you live? How would you even live if you are not a physical being? Think about it, right? Most people, even spiritual people, they're like, Guru, what should I do? Enlightened Guru that I've been worshipping for like thousands of years. Enlightened Guru that has to be the permission in order for me to give myself permission. What do I do in this life? And the guru's like, yeah, man, I sat down for a little while. Maybe you should sit down for a little while your whole life. You know, guys, I'm not hating on yogis. I love yogic wisdom. But even if my sibling, I love my brother, but if my brother was making a mistake, I would turn into a lion and roar at him. And if my species, I feel, some part of me feels that we're walking towards a dehumanized destiny where we will get bored of our biological bodies because of the information accumulation being so fast, then we will have gone towards inner extinction before outer extinction, which is another way of saying before we saw how great humanity was, we stopped being human. And that is an error. And this is why till the end I will fight with all those beings trying to dehumanize people. I don't care if it's through technology or spirituality. There's a type of spirituality that will dehumanize you, and you won't understand why you're being a being here. It leads to confusion. I'm not saying that non-duality does not give you peace. I will tell you that anybody who's experiencing non-duality, You're going to feel something is missing. You're not going to feel something's missing. You're going to feel something is passing you by. And you're going to be like, how? Wow, somebody in the chat section just shared a quote from Diogenes. Some dogs only bite their enemies. I bite my friends because I care. Guys, Diogenes was such a next level being.
Hey brother, you mind if I grab one? Just one.
No worries.
That one.
Yo, what are you doing?
I'm just fussing.
Don't put your hand in my car. What the fuck are you doing, man? What the fuck? Sorry, guys. I think this is a sign I should quit cigarettes again. Wow. Guys, you didn't see what happened, but somebody just came by the car and they put their hand literally in the car to grab something from my hand. I was like, what the Oh, karma, what are you trying to say? In the name of the most advanced, and I may not be worthy, I may not be worthy, but because the ideas are there, I'll share it, and maybe in the future somebody who's worthy, if I'm not worthy, will come and finish the job. It's never been a one-man thing, ever. It's a one-world thing. I will not believe that this world is doomed. This is not the humanity. Some part of me knows this species right now, this is not what we were. This is part of, we're like literally like 33% complete as human beings. We have not experienced what it means to be human yet. Completely. You know why? Because our attachments convince us that this world is here, so we take. Do you understand? This is something very strange. Should we take from this world or should we give to this world? The egotistical approach is, yo man, I'm here for a little. No, it's like that's what I should do. But the poet Rumi, 700 years ago, a man whose spirit was, everybody is an actor in front of their own unknown self. Alright guys, strangely, the gentleman came back and apologized, and then I offered him a cigarette, and then he also said he wanted to quit smoking. You know what it is? Human consciousness appears systematic, but it could be simpler than that. But if we treat it too simple, you see what it is? Ultimate simplicity, be nothing. And then there are people like me saying, yo, go towards ultimate complexity. But in reality, it's a middle way. The Buddha understood this. He was so ahead of his time. The Buddha was, some people call him Buddha, I call him a time traveler. The awakened ones had awakened beyond the dream of time. They had awakened from beyond the dream of self. They had understood that the world was alive, not just them. And this is why love is teaching you to be present beyond yourself. This is why it's not even logical sometimes. I'm starting to realize this thing I said earlier about what I saw from David Goggins. I think David Goggins is correct. Like in such a deep way, when he says that he suddenly realized he's around people who I maybe have to accept that my greatest enemy is myself. And if I have an enemy, if I am my own greatest enemy, then the path to my advancement is the victory over myself. The poet Rumi says your task is not to seek love, but to get rid of all the barriers that you have made against it. In the name of the most advanced, I would say the same sentence, but I hear it differently. Your task is not to seek advancement. Your task is to get rid of all the barriers to advancement. All the barriers you have, an individual has made to it. That means it's another way of saying you don't need. This might sound bizarre, right? I'm not saying you don't need, but here, the view is like this. You don't need anything additional. Why? Because an additional reality will fragment your psyche. And it's not that the psyche gets fragmented, anytime somebody somebody writes, somebody writes a negative comment, the person's like, yo man, I'm so angry. Wait a minute, is my psyche fragmenting? And of course, psychological fragmentation is way deeper than how I'm saying it right now. Okay, it relates to post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic experiences. Pretty much it's the idea that an individual at some point in their life could not completely be themselves, and so they are functioning under an incomplete self. That means just like softwares, they have updates and patches. Your free will is here to update your psychological software. And it's not just that. It's also the world updating you. Such as me. No, I'm kidding. Guys, I at some point, I gave this talk. I realized I'm not a nice person. That was one of the most profoundest talks I've ever given in my life. And I was like, yo man, are people just gonna think I'm like this good person, and anytime I do something bad, they'll be like, oh, how dare you, yo man. The comedians of this world all have a destiny to make us realize that if we take life seriously, we miss out sometimes. I took this project seriously for like a decade, and there was a time I was counting all the things that I'm missing out on, but I was like, yo, I'm not missing out on this at least. Sometimes it's strange. Sometimes I wonder if my perspective is from this moment, the behind the scenes moment of all moments. There is something more here. You see, it's not just it's like you can perceive objects as to be the fundamental reality. Or you could consider that this whole universe is an expression of an unknown power. A power doesn't mean necessarily physical. Somebody in the chat section says, I promise you'll be famous one day. I'll be like, yo man, if I'm not famous at the end of my life, I'll come and find you. No, I'm joking. No, it's not fame. I mean, the fame is the idea is not for getting the whole species attention locked down on one individual. I'm trying to be a mirror. Okay, I'm trying to honestly be a mirror. I'm like, yo, people's attention piloted back to the species, you know. You know, in the future, you know, I you know, hopefully, you know, in the future, I was thinking like, yo, am I one of those guys like, you know, that is, if I get married, I'm gonna have like a lot of divorces or something, you know, I've. And then I thought, like, what could the reason of those future divorces that you know, hopefully may never happen, you know, could be, right? Guys, I think the funniest moment in my future career will be like, yo, this guy, I've listened to thousands of lectures of Mr.Within, but I still don't know what this guy's saying. And it's because, how can I say something that we're all being? Why do you think God is inconceivable? The idea of God is one of the most advanced perspectives and positions in reality. You know, right now you see in society, like, you know, modern culture, celebrities are going towards religion, and people are like, yo man, I was always a man of God, right? But I will tell you, God was never an egoic thing. Do you understand? Because you are the creation of the Creator. You see? I'll say something, right? In my talks, in these lectures I give, once I was analyzing the contrast between religion and politics, and I was saying, excuse me, and I was saying, honestly, I'm pretty much thinking, what's the smartest thing I could do before I die? And I keep thinking it over, and I'll get back to the religion politics thing I was saying, but it's collective. I keep thinking about it in all other ways, and I think like, okay, if I live myself, I'm living for myself, I'm living for my, let's say, future children, and I'm living for my future grandchildren, but my infinite future grandchildren will be the whole species. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, I may not know 8 billion, there's 8 billion of us here. I only know maybe like 20 people, like, well, you know. But I have this feeling that my grandchildren, if I have kids, if my wife finds me, before I leave, even if we choose to live for an individual life, it's indirectly for a collective life. That's what I'm trying to say. So it doesn't make sense, like the sentence living for yourself is a false sentence. It doesn't make sense, because living for yourself, you're living not just for yourself, you're living for your children, for the future of your children. So what does that mean? That's the future. That's the species. You're living for the species without knowing it. You just think it's just, your own lineage. So the thing about politics and religion, okay, guys, though I was saying that celebrities now have come and, it's interesting. It's a kind of like archaic revival of religious values in modern, let's say, impure times. But in these lectures, I would say that the contrast between religion and politics, religion is about submission. Do you understand? Religion is about, maybe like 3 people have said something about me going into politics. Okay? I'm not kidding. Like, people have said this. Okay? And I was thinking that politics is about domination. If I go into politics, I would have to possess myself. I would have to become possessed. I would have to become possessed with such an overwhelming desire that in some sense I may become dehumanized. This is why I don't enter politics. But in the future, I would love to, be like an advisor or something, like I was thinking of starting like a, I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, I told him all the details of all the stuff I've done. I'm like, what kind of consultant would I be? And then ChatGPT said visionary consultant, and I was like, I like it. So let me tell you this, guys. Religion is about submission. It's now our current times has brought forth a unique individual, 2 individuals. And I believe, I'm talking about the Tate brothers. When the tragedy happened for those gentlemen, I suddenly, just for a moment, just paused, and I was like, why should these 2 beings be looked at by all the world? And why should some of the most egotistical individuals suddenly talk about God? Okay? And then I realized why. And of course, this is my limited analysis, but I realized why. Because some of the most egotistical people don't feel good about what they're being. So subconsciously, they actually seek submission. Some of the most aggressive people on this planet. Why? Because you get bored of, I shouldn't say bored. It's like they call it the set principle of the body, right? Like for example, those people who work at night shifts, like their body suddenly adjusts. Many people think you just have to work in the day, and if you don't work in the day, like, you're a piece of shit, What I'm trying to say about why I brought forth the idea of the Tate brothers was the example of this contrast between politics and religion. Okay? I find that when somebody calls the name of God, anybody, you just evoke that name. You consider that idea. You are considering a being greater than you. If you allow other beings to treat you as the greatest being, and you do not correct them, it is equivalent to you acting like God. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? That means my karmic analysis would be that the Tate brothers accepted their fame, and therefore a spiritual submission was necessary. Okay? But also I consider them to be any being that is being seen by millions of people. I'm like, whoa, what a fascinating karma. What a fascinating position. Like, imagine like you're seeing a chess game, and it's like some of the chess pieces haven't moved yet, and you have these complex pawn structures going in the middle of the game trying to control the map, right? And of course there's different developments and styles. But what I'm saying is, it's like that sometimes, Those people who are in the spotlight, they one day anybody who has been on the spotlight there will be an honor. There's an incredible honor to have your karma become a collective experience for everybody. Okay, there's honor in that. But what I'm trying to say is that I experienced this sense of religious submission, not in the sense that I was like, okay, I'll stop thinking and I'm going to become a robot and live my whole life in a limited narrative. Not limited narrative, in a limited ideological construct. I'm not saying religion is limited. You know, I treat the revelatory texts as codexes, divine codexes. You know, years ago, my intuition, I got this insight from my own intuition that you cannot read holy books normally. You got to read them with your heart. If your heart is unsealed, the book will come and read itself to you. That means the wisdom of the book comes and finds you if your heart is unsealed. Anyways, guys, so what I'm trying to say, and I think no way like the Tate brothers may ever hear this, but like what I wanted to say, you know, something that was just like a hidden thing through that whole situation that those guys went through, was that to live a life, a good, let's say an efficient life, some have said it means to live a fulfilled life. To live a fulfilled life means that in your lifetime, in accordance to the dimensions you're considering to yourself, you can expand. So imagine I'll give you an example. This is not, okay, this is just an example, okay? Imagine there are 3 dimensions and 3 ways that a human being has to express before they can die in this planet. One is physical expression. That means everybody has an allotted physical expression. Then there is a psychological expression. Okay? You have an allotted psychological, that means your body's here to do some things with a certain allotted authorization. Your mind is here to do for a certain allotted authorization. And after, imagine these 3, let's say there's the notion of the soul, a spiritual life. So pretty much I'm saying that there's a physical life, a biological life, a mental life, and an unknown spiritual life. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is that what I honestly with the Tate brothers, I had this impression that these guys are gonna leave, are gonna get out and completely stop everything they were doing before. And even though they may think that that's gonna be a counter strategy to their, let's say, financial abundance, it would be the most incredible thing, because human beings don't want to see cool people. We want to see real people. When I was in high school, I was brainwashed. Oh my God, those people are so freaking cool. What am I? Am I just a part of the paint on a wall? Like, what am I? And little did I realize, it's just the game. Human beings get bored. They need to look at other human beings. But the issue is when people worship happens. So the Tate brothers, if they are truly going towards religion, they have to stop the people worshipping that is happening in their karma. Okay? What does people worship mean? It means there was a time people were like, yo, this object is my God. This object is the truth. The only thing that I should worship. This feathers and, bones and sticks on this, like, piece of wood. And then there came a time where people were like, yo, get rid of that piece of stuff in your hand. And now it went from idol worship to idea worship. It went from object worship to subject worship. Okay? Right now, this might sound a bit scary, we are still in subject worship. Because God is not a subject, it is inconceivable. How can you worship an inconceivable conceivably? If any act of conception towards God is creating a partner to it. Some religious philosophers may suddenly feel that, wait a minute, if God doesn't have a partner, right, if there's nothing that can replace God, how is the idea of God replacing God? And I am really interested for theologians to come and educate me on this. I welcome it. You see, I'm probably that one person, right, where I would put away my ego just to see if I was wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that is so much more valuable, right? We've been conditioned to think that when we are right, that's good. I mean, it is good. Sometimes. But right becomes wrong if you cannot learn from your wrongs, if you don't update. All I'm saying is, in the future, guys, like, think about it, Teslas, right? And what's the gentleman's name? Elon Musk. Guys, I said a quote to Elon Musk, right? I don't know if I posted it on his Twitter, but I said this quote, right? My mind created such a unique quote, and it was like, if I ever see Elon Musk, I'll probably tell him, keep going, go further, you Musk. You must do this, Everybody must do things, but Elon Musk must do things. So anyways, guys, is about unsealing your heart. And your heart unseals when you realize, this is my experience in moments I've prayed. I would say I have, this might sound strange what I'm saying, but I feel I have the heart I have the heart of a Muslim, but the mind of a non-Muslim. And when I say the heart of a Muslim, what I'm saying is that I have had moments when I feel impure, I pray. And in those moments, what I do, I have a knee problem, so I pray on my bed. Okay? And before I pray, I put this prayer mat, and I'm on my bed, and I stand there, and I don't speak Arabic, but I have a certain understanding. And in those moments where I pretty much raise my hands, and for a moment I just feel that I am so insignificant, and I am so small, and I don't even know what's best for me. And in that moment, I am in the presence of that which knows. This single feeling, watch. It's like a feeling that we're performers in front of the most advanced. To the degree that once you notice that the absence of advancement in the moment is the absence of divinity. Oh man. Sorry guys, I'm gonna wait for these lakes underneath my eyelids to dry up. So, what I'm trying to say, guys, is that it is okay for us to realize we don't know. It's okay for us to be unknown beings, whereas it's said that it's wrong to be an unknown being, right? The idea is What can an unknown being do with what it can know? Right? So I don't treat knowledge as the end, like the end to a means to an end. Is the shadow of greater ones. We're actually in a shadow world, which is another way of saying that we are not here. A part of me feels that to live a life where nothing goes wrong and realize that it has passed, we free ourselves 1/3. That means 1/3 your past. Let's say another third of life is dealing with the present. The present doesn't have to necessarily have meaning. The here and now, all those beings who come to the here and now, I'll make a prediction. All enlightened spiritual people will come and help build the advanced civilization. You will all go around. You can be in another world while you're in this one. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm not talking about multidimensional. I'm talking about what the attention is doing. Okay, like my eyes are open right now, physical being. I close my eyes, I'm not seeing a physical being anymore. I'm being. Honestly, a lot of my religious prayers have been I've just asked. The moment I just understood this from religion, I realized there's only one prayer. You know, there's this in Arabic they say ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. So what does that mean? It means, oh Creator, guide me the path I must go. Guide me to the straight path, to the right path, right? And to me, religion is a symbiosis. Faith means you're trusting being, okay? You look at people like Steve Harvey, you look at people like Oprah Winfrey, you go hear their incredible stories, and at some point in their life, you know, they were like, they reached like some blockade, and they were just like, God, use me. Believe it or not, I heard Steve Harvey say something like this, or Oprah, as if they were like, as if I did not create myself. How do I know how this creation should conduct itself then? Right? So if you consider that your world is alive, which is another way of what religion is implying, the world is inconceivably alive, then your life is no longer your life when the whole world has become your life. You see? The most advanced beings in this world, they're being responsible not for a little part of the world. Yo, I'm just my body here. Yo, okay, I'll be responsible for this. The most advanced beings, or poetically, as the Sufis would say, the old souls. The old souls are some of the most least spiritual people here. Do you know why? Because spirituality is nothing new. The human experience is new. It's as if the guy went into the mountains for 30 years and an eternal being, right? If some part of this, what I am, has never gone anywhere, right? Then what's the human thing is like the new thing to do, right? So it's kind of like saying, just think about it. What would an advanced being do on Earth? This is Mr. Within's exercise, okay? I don't like the idea of, like, I don't want to say I'm giving homework to people. I'm just saying, like, yo, at some point, just wonder, what would the most advanced being do here? And this is a trick question, because the most advanced being could be the whole thing, therefore it's doing everything. I think this is why a lot of people are gravitated towards non-duality, because there is no reason to be an idea that caused you suffering. Rather, why else would it be happening? You know, honestly, now when I think about it, this channel, this YouTube channel could have, like, I've seen YouTube channels where they're like posting. Like I don't know how to say it, but I'm thinking 100% an intention why this channel is not that big, because it could have been. You see what I'm saying? Because it could have been and it wasn't. It's like a suggestion that maybe there's a different plan, right? Many people don't know this, right? Why the religious movement is very powerful. Let me tell you why. Because when something bad happens, the person doesn't say, "Oh my God, why God, this is happening to me," or even those people who say that, they don't have faith. Because faith means that there's other plans at work. This is why in the Eastern tradition they say there are no accidents. It's in the context that the divine will is coordinating everything. Somebody says perhaps one day you can do talks in public in your city and around the world like Sadhguru. I mean, Sadhguru's already doing it. Guys, you know what it is? I honestly think this, I'm writing an incredible science fiction book. I think maybe the fact that this channel hasn't blown up is a blessing, because maybe the world has to know me through a different means. Has to know me from somewhere else. Honestly, these Mr. Within talks feel like the headquarters. It feels like the foundation of what my being has intended here. It's as if and I'll share with you guys a prayer. I think I made this prayer two days ago. I made this prayer that I was like, I don't know God. Like when I think about it, I thought like it's going to take me possible for an individual to like build an advanced civilization, or to advance civilization to that scale I was envisioning in my mind. And then I realized, no, how to do it, who knows how to do it, and I got here. I don't feel I am from here. Yeah, doesn't feel like I'm from here. And if you know yourself to be an unknown being, then your unknown life in your lifetime begins. In the name of the most advanced, an advanced civilization is the birthright of the future. We are intelligent beings. It doesn't make sense for all of us to come all this way, and then at the end of it, after all this 200,000 years of, let's say, progress of civilization, suddenly be like, yo, we don't feel like doing anything anymore. Like that would be the tragedy, really. And ad-free, the ones that are eligible. For anybody who's joined the membership, you don't have to join the membership. The membership is there only if you're capable. Civilization is not intellectual, it's in all levels. Okay, that means we are not just advancing. It's kind of like, once a being realizes an advanced nature, then its expression is aligned, let's say, with advancement. But there is so much we don't know, and this is why I guess there's something to do here. If we knew everything, we'd be like, yo man, we know everything, like there's nothing to do because we know it, there's nothing to attain. Anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for accompanying me in all these flights. And I guess one thing is left. Only one thing is left. Rise, mankind, rise.